number 124, Candyman. And you are filled with a creamy nougat center.
Do we actually know what nougat is?
Hell, I thought it was made from rubber trees. I don't know.
Mysteries of our times, truly. Hello, friends. There is no mystery here at all. This is Fusebox number 124, cunningly entitled, and by the way, awaiting extradition to some foreign land, Candyman, and much more about this title in a bit. But I am your cultivating exotic larvae as a hobby host, Mark Rose, welcoming you in to this edition of the program. We are so glad you decided to push play on this one, and we do endeavor to make it well worth your time. Over there, eating Rollos by the case, is the Prime Minister of Meters hisselves, Milt Keynes, everybody.
You know, I actually do like those things. I know it's kind of like a guilty pleasure, but I really do like them.
And hopefully, friends, you too will recall the great Rollo candy. It's a chocolate-covered caramel kind of thing, and quite addictive. Been around for decades, and evidently still is.
Yeah, they're around. Now, Zagnut might be a bit more hard to find, or maybe Fifth Avenue or Payday.
Holy carp! Payday. Or what was that other one? Chunky. Remember Chunky? I suppose they're still out there somewhere. You know, a few years ago, I stumbled upon a website called oldtimecandy.com, which is still out there somewhere, which has candy by the decade, and it goes back to like the 1900s. And I think all of it is still being made by somebody out there in their original packaging, and you can get it from those guys if you were so inclined.
Now, you remember the giant sweet tart?
Oh, yeah. That thing was was almost the size of your hand. Bigger, actually, if you were 9 years old at the time. Of course, the urban legend that followed shortly after its release was that, of course, of young Timmy confusing a Salvo detergent tablet for a giant sweet tart. Remember this?
Procter & Gamble's new Salvo gets clothes lots cleaner looking with lots less bleaching. So, just 2 Salvo tablets.
There was a horrible outcome to that, no doubt. Thanks, Wally, right there. That was Wally Cox for Salvo detergent. Yes, friends, cleaning is most assuredly a subtext for this show, I promise.
Very nice segue, sir.
Yeah, it's about as subtle as a jackhammer, but seriously, we are compelled to chat about this subject. I mean, I know it's wishful thinking, perhaps, but this just might be the start of an unraveling of some of the more nefarious and certainly deeply hidden activities going on in our world by some of the most wealthy and, in many cases, unknown people in this society.
I think we can safely say that this shit has been going on forever.
Yes, Mr. Keynes, on that I would agree. We're referring, of course, to the Jeffrey Epstein case, currently making headlines everywhere. But in case you're not aware, this guy is a previously convicted sex offender who's not without means and influence himself. He's a wealthy, but again, it's not really sure exactly how wealthy, as it's most difficult to put a finite number to that, it appears. His lawyers at one point have quoted him as being a billionaire. Others say a millionaire. Whatever the case, the guy has 5 houses, and one of them is this 21,000 square foot Manhattan, quote, townhouse, end quote. What townhouse has 7 floors? you know, or heated sidewalks, and most specifically, a lead-lined secret room. You?
His?
Yes, evidently. So the guy has property all over the damn place, and his own island, even, off in the Caribbean, called Little St. James, which has been the scene for all sorts of alleged crimes involving underage girls. Now, I just recently actually saw some drone footage of this retreat. And, friends, if you even have the slightest conspiratorial bone in your brain, you'll have a field day with this place. It's underground bunkers, weird temple-like buildings. There's like strange, hollowed-out grassy areas, which have these like crop circle designs. A most bizarre sundial apparatus that has these bench seats all around it, and some very, very curious symbols painted in and around it. As a matter of fact, in one of the shots of his Manhattan mansion that they broke into, the picture of the doorknob, you only see it for a second, but the picture of the doorknob also has these same symbols on it. They're not decorative. They're very specific, but it's just very curious. It's just very curious indeed. As it comes to light now that this chap may be involved in some very dark and a little sleazy on the side sex trafficking activities involving some pretty famous and not so famous but very wealthy clientele.
Alleged hell? This guy's obviously connected to some sick shit, and some of his pals are gonna face the music here real soon.
That is how it looks. So this Epstein guy was convicted in 2008 for soliciting a prostitute, which, well, to be honest with you, in itself is a wee strange in that the girl in question here is 14. Well, she's not of legal age. Well, for anything, really, in the eyes of the law. But, be that as it may, he served 13 months in, quote, custody with work release as part of a plea deal where federal officials had identified 36 other victims. It was a 51-page indictment. The plea deal was made by Alexander Acosta, who was then United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who agreed to grant immunity from all federal criminal charges to Epstein and folks related to his dealings. Now, if that name seems familiar, it's because up until just recently, Mr. Acosta was the U.S. Secretary of Labor for the Trump administration, and of course, resigned after this stink bomb went off. A lot of folks, and they still are mystified as to why this particular case was handled the way it was. See, a deal cut like this without notifying the victims of its decision. Acosta said that he was informed by, whomever, that Epstein was an intelligence asset. So this NPA, or non-prosecution agreement that was handed down in the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of Florida, which is where all this sordid stuff was first reported, and first reported, by the way, by Palm Beach Post. I mean, the Miami Herald got a lot of credit, and they did some superior, and continue to do some very superior reporting. But the Palm Beach Post actually covered this thing from the beginning. But anyway, it was determined that this ruling was in strict violation of the Crimes Victims Act of 2004, which, by the way, the NPA deal was declared illegal by U.S. District Judge Kenneth Mara on February 21st of 2019, due to that exact clause, not telling folks.
You think?
Yeah, the gears of justice grind slowly, it would appear. But there you are. And in a moment, this guy has a lot of associates who just might be getting a tad nervous right now.
The show for everybody, but not everybody will like it.
TheFuseboxShow.com.
We are talking with Professor about his new that if you'd like to join the discussion, go ahead.
Federal government and Congress, are they the one? Are they the?
All right, thanks for your Professor. Go ahead.
The very beautiful nude children and the elegant homoerotic nude, but of a fifth grader with taxpayers' money should be spent for ugly and offensive people.
That is
yes.
But let me ask you. Can I ask you what
sure. And I think that
from PR News.
Thank you to the lovely and talented Fernande Nende Lemur for that little piece. You know, another curious thing about this Jeffrey Epstein chap is his interest in science.
Well, underage biology seems to be a major interest.
Clearly. But I find it interesting that way back in 1974, he was actually hired to teach physics and mathematics at an exclusive private school in New York, the Dalton School, as it's called. This guy, although he did attend university, he didn't graduate, and he was employed here at this school without a degree. Now, that hit me just bizarre until I had to research that a little bit. It appears that in many places, particularly like small private institutions and things like that, it's okay to not have a degree and teach something. And New York apparently has a surprisingly loose requirement here, evidently. So he met some chaps in the subsequent years that definitely put him on a very specific path.
Blackmail?
Well, one could posit that notion, Mr. Keynes. He was introduced to some extremely high-rolling type of individuals, no doubt. He became a limited partner of Bear Stearns, the ill-fated investment firm, then forming his own deal in 1980, where I think everybody agrees this is where it really started to happen for him. Got him rubbing shoulders there with heads of state and other foreign dignitaries. And this is actually where it gets very interesting as well. Back before the 2008 shenanigans was brought to light, it was discovered that he had placed video cameras over his various residences that were seemingly set up to record the activities going on there between his guests and the girls he brought in. And we are talking girls here, underage females, all right? The plan, naturally, was to use the footage as leverage whenever he needed it, I presume. But who knows? Again, this is all just, of course, alleged. But we do know this, that he has had a rather glorious reputation as being quite the philanthropist. He's one of 4 donors who pledged to raise about $2 million for building Rosofsky Hall at Harvard University, which it's safe to say he has had a serious obsession for. Very serious. In 2000, Epstein established the Jeffrey Epstein VI Foundation, which funds science research and education. And prior to 2003, the foundation funded Martin Nowak's research at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. In May of 2003, Epstein pledged a series of donations totaling actually over $30 million to create a mathematical biology and evolutionary dynamics program at Harvard, which was run by, Martin Nowak. According to the Boston Globe, the actual amount received from Epstein was $6.5 million. So after all this crap went down in 2008, he attempted to rebuild his public face by using a PR firm to do just that. And as evidence, in 2019, Forbes deleted a 2013 article that called Epstein, quote, one of the largest backers of cutting-edge science, after the New York Times revealed that the author of that article, Drew Hendricks, had been paid $600 to submit it falsely as his own. A National Review piece from the same year called him, quote, a smart businessman with, quote, a passion for cutting-edge science. Does that sound familiar? Anyway, the article was credited to Christina Galbraith, who identified herself in her bio as a science writer who had published at Forbes and HuffPost. Well, Miss Galbraith was also a publicist for Mr. Epstein. According to several news releases promoting Mr. Epstein's foundations and initiatives in 2012, 2013, and 2014 that included her as the contact. So in the article that appeared in the National Review, she described him as having given thoughtfully to countless organizations that help educate underprivileged children. I don't know. So is this starting? Are these pieces starting to? Yeah. Quoting the National Review here, we took down the piece and regret publishing it, Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, said. He also said in his email that the National Review had a process in place for a while now to weed out such commercially self-interested pieces from lobbyists and PR flacks. Apparently not soon enough, though. A HuffPost article from 2017 credited Mr. Epstein for taking action to help a number of scientists thrive during the Trump era, a time of anti-science policies and budget cuts. All of these articles have been removed from their sites in recent days, and particularly after inquiries from the New York Times. This, again, is, careful and, of course, sleazy public relations with a big fail.
Oh, man. Again, gotta be suspicious of things you read.
Oh, and in this day and age, things you see as well. So as we know, Epstein was arrested again on July 6th of this year on federal charges for sex trafficking of minors in both Florida and New York. And at present is sitting in a real cell this time, awaiting trial, and no bail for this guy, by the way.
Yeah, and it says here that his lawyers offered a $600 million bond.
Right.
Including $100 million from his brother Mark, so he could leave jail and submit to house arrest in his New York mansion. It says here, on July 18th, Judge Richard N. Berman denied the request, saying that Epstein posed a danger to the public and a serious flight risk to avoid prosecution.
Well, you think? He's got a private jet, the 727, I think. They've called it the Lolita Express, for crying out loud. In truth, though, I think that this plane was actually sold recently. But, and this is where it gets really stinky.
They didn't hose that thing down after the flight?
I don't know. But the flight log on that plane is a really fascinating read. You got your former Harvard University president, Larry Summers.
Yeah.
You got your former National Security Advisor, Sandy Berger.
Yeah.
You got your former Colombian president, Andre Pastrana.
Huh?
Yeah. And you got your Bill Clinton, 26 times.
Oops.
And, of course, the orange guy flew in there once or twice or 9 times. We don't know.
You know, as much as I'd have absolutely no problem with that guy being eaten by rabid wolverines, I don't think he's into the youngsters thing at all.
Not sure the Wolverines would have him. We'll have to trust your gut there, Mr. Keynes. I don't know. I tell you what I am curious about.
Yeah?
Where is the First Lady? I mean, really? When did we see her involved in, well, actually anything? I mean, I'm beginning to think he just has her hanging in a vestibule somewhere, and then, whenever he needs her, he just grabs her by the and trots her out. You know?
I don't know, man. Seems like the only time I see her is getting on a chopper or Air Force One with him.
Well, Orange Guy does prefer the attention to be on him at all times. So I guess that's...
I think I read somewhere that that Epstein guy had some weird connection to Mossad or something.
You mean the Israeli intelligence group? Yeah. From what I gather, that actually seems to be more connected to his former girlfriend, Ghislane Maxwell, daughter of publisher Robert Maxwell, he of the Mirror publishing empire in the UK there, and countless other things. Among them, evidently, a very nice and tight relationship with several Eastern European communist countries, in which he published biographies, read that, puff pieces, for all the communist leaders. And was quite lucrative for him, evidently. As it happens, it was politically lucrative for both the Soviet Union and Israel, who often used Mr. Maxwell as a conduit to pass intelligence back and forth between countries. Hence his Mossad connection. As Israel at the time became very attached to Maxwell's information services. But getting back to Ghislane here, she allegedly helped to arrange and procure the girls into this funnel for Epstein, who, it said, would then, tape and at many times participate in all the rather sordid shenanigans.
I bet she's not taping his sessions.
Oh, you just never know. We do know that when his rather swank Manhattan townhouse was raided, really? A townhouse? 21,000 square feet, friends. It was a converted school that he bought from, another friendly tentacle, Leslie Wexner, who is the guy behind L Brands, Victoria's Secret, The Limited, etc. All that stuff. Anyway, when the place was searched, they came up with an out-of-date passport listing him as a resident of Saudi Arabia, some diamonds, lots of cash, of course, and a whole lot of pictures, and I suspect videos, of young girls in compromising situations. Many underage, of course. This is the bit right there. That's the one that could actually hang him.
Yeah.
But hopefully not until the huge Octo-Beast is revealed there in the closet with all the 1,000 heads of political, business, and entertainment figures all connected together in some sort of unholy union. Or perhaps a shunting. Filmmaker Brian Yuzna. Yeah, he brought that to the screen. It's a wonderful little gem called Society. It's worth it for that sequence alone, friends. Trust me, really. You need to see that to believe it. Anyway.
Just wonder if we'll really get the whole story here, though. I mean, if this guy is that deep in, maybe his associates will just create a blind, so we don't ever really get to see that Octo-Beast.
Well, distractions are the order of the day at present. We can see that for sure. These are going to be some very busy courtrooms over the ensuing months. This thing could potentially be of epic proportions if all the threads are either gathered or allowed to be gathered. And by the way, just the other day, they say that Mr. Epstein was found in a fetal position in his jail cell, evidently suffering from some kind of attack, or so it is said. rumors have circulated that the attack and abrasions and so forth were self-inflicted in order to get him transferred to another site, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, if Bubba wanted that guy dead, he'd be dead, you know?
It's kind of what I think.
What I can't figure out is at what level, and I mean how high up the food chain here, does this thing go? And also, why now? Speaking of distractions.
Well, those are excellent questions, sir. How high might bring about names we've never heard of. Maybe even life forms we've never heard of. Certainly much higher than any political ceiling. I mean, I think this stuff is connected to actual sources of our current reality that we have not encountered. My humble opinion. It's been posited that the actual source for this stuff is nefarious indeed, and is connected to some very, very historic figures going way, way back. And the timing, well, here's an idea. I'm wondering if somebody crossed a line with Mr. Epstein, or vice versa, and he becomes the sacrificial guy under the bus. I mean, this could have huge ramifications. This is a global phenomena, okay? I mean, you even have Prince Andrew implicated in this thing, even if it's just a rumor.
Well, they do have pictures of him hanging out with Epstein and the orange guy, too.
Yes? Yes, they do. I don't know where this is heading. Hopefully, prison for the concerned parties. And this time, no work release benefits and your own private security staff inside the jail.
The best justice money can buy, amigo.
Oh, God, let's hope not.
Can you think of one average person who could get away with 1/10 of the shit this guy's accused of? They would have locked him up so fast they would have taken the air out of the room.
Well, and to that, one of his attorneys, the celebrated law professor Alan Dershowitz, was implicated in at least one of the sessions at Epstein's Manhattan place. He's accused of molesting some underage gal as well.
Yeah, at first he said, it's a blatant lie. And then he said, yeah, but I kept my underwear on.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Remember that one? Yep. Got impeached by the House and then, of course, acquitted by the Senate. I can't help think that that right there was a little karmic wake-up call for William there, you know?
Too bad it didn't wake him up enough. Same crap is destined for the orange guy if it gets that far.
Well, you know what? I really, really doubt that there's any point to do that at this particular time. I mean, honestly, the time for that would have been his first year, in my humble opinion. Because by the time you get all those legal wheels rolling, it's election time, right? We're staring down the barrel of that right now.
Yeah, but they had both houses tied up back then, remember?
Yeah, true enough.
Now, I just think my Wolverine idea would be the best.
Yes, and with that tempting ear candy, we'll pack up our Necco wafers and red vines and Malamars and scuttle away back under the floor mat, but not before thanking our sugar-free contributors to this edition of Fusebox, the always amazing Mr. Fernande Nende Lemur, Trista Perez, and Jeff Pollard. Thanks, as always, to the Wolverine-loving deacon of Dials, Milt Keynes, for technical assistance over there.
You know, I'm thinking maybe a cross between an aardvark and a Wolverine would be fun, you know? An Aarvorine. What do you think?
A bad-tempered anteater. Huh. Could work. I'll ask Eco and Milo to put some plans together, you know? And thanks as well to you, friends, for fearlessly pushing play on this edition of Fusebox. We'd also beg your indulgence to like and subscribe this here presentation. It is of great value to us, humble programmers. Truly is. And I have been your enriched with riboflavin and electrolytic capacitors host, Mark Rose, saying, until our next cartoon.
Fusebox.